Good afternoon, NRMN participants. Today we have a very exciting webinar that we are fortunate to have Dr. Murray to share her expertise surrounding mentorship and effective practices. Today, I will be your host, Alexis Short. I am the Communications Manager for the National Research Mentoring Network. Today, as I mentioned, we are fortunate enough to have Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief Tracy M. Murray, who actually intramural research at the National Institute of Drug Abuse as a scientific advisor for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion for the adolescent brain cognitive development and healthy brain and child development studies. Dr. Murray has been a registered nurse for over 10 years with experience in clinical research, epidemiology, and nursing education. She earned her Bachelor's of Science in Nursing with honors from Texas Christian University, her PhD at Texas at Tyler, and her Master's in Public Health at the University of North Texas Health Science Center. Dr. Murray spent nearly 3 years with the Indian Health Service servicing the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska and the Navajo Nation in various clinical and administrative roles. She previously served as Assistant Regional Administrator for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration in Dallas, where she created and led several initiatives, including the National Partnership for Equity Initiative to address behavioral health inequities through innovative cross-agency partnerships, and the YARD, an internal diversity initiative for HBCU alumni and other interested staff. With over a decade of experience as a registered nurse and a robust academic background, she is sharing her expertise in a session focused on mentoring action items. Whether you're seeking an ideal mentor or mentee, we'll dive into best practices and effective engagement for after identifying the right match. Today's topics, we will dive into strategies for initiating meaningful mentor-mentee relationships, navigating challenges and maximizing the impact of mentorship, building a supportive network for professional growth. And so don't want to miss another opportunity like this. So thank you very much, Dr. Murray, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share your expertise. Without any further ado.
Thanks, Alexis. When you're ready, you can share screen for me. Perfect. So I see that first slide there. You can go ahead and go to the next slide for me. Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. So today I'm speaking to you from my experience as a mentee, but also as a mentor. And I know with great certainty that I would not be where I am if it had not been for mentors, coaches, and sponsors at every single step of the way. So today, I hope you walk away with some tools to help you begin a really strong mentorship with someone who can support your goals. And I want to start us off with this poll so we can really get a feel for who all is here with us in the audience. And that question is simply, where are you in your mentoring journey? So maybe you aren't quite sure you need a mentor right now, or maybe you're already in a mentorship. Maybe you actually are a mentor. So if you can, type your number in the chat, and let's see where everyone is. I'll give a few minutes for you just to type something in there. Hopefully we're getting some answers in the chat. I'll pause for just a second. All right, so I'm sure we have a good mix of everyone in the crowd from the whole span. And if you're number one, you're in the right spot. And so If we can go to the next slide. Perfect. Yeah, so if you were number one and maybe you were unsure, I don't know, do I really need a mentor? I haven't quite figured that part out. Then maybe this particular slide will help you decide if you need a mentor or maybe you need something else. Because I believe there are a few key roles that many of us will need throughout our academic and career journeys: a role model, a mentor, a coach, and a sponsor. At certain points, I've had all of them, and you'll see why. So, a role model is someone you look up to. They have qualities you admire, they inspire you in some way. A key point here is that you may or may not have a direct relationship with them. You may follow their LinkedIn, or maybe you follow their IG page. Or it could be someone you know, like a senior leader, a professor, or a family member who you look up to. A mentor may also be a role model. In fact, I really hope that they are. But the difference is you have or you develop a relationship with them because a mentor helps support you in your journey. They walk alongside you to help you achieve your goals. They've been in a similar situation, or maybe they're doing something you'd like to do one day. So they can help you get there by sharing their experiences and lessons learned. A coach, on the other hand, helps you with a specific task or skill. Think public speaking, executive presence. It's usually, again, task driven and also one sided. A coach can help you think through, say, a difficult decision by asking like probing questions for you. They're not necessarily giving you the answer or doing it for you, but instead they're giving you the skills you need so you can do that thing by yourself. Lastly, is a sponsor. This is your advocate. They vouch for you in senior spaces and champion you for new opportunities. They're usually very aware of your work and your goals, so they can keep an eye out for you. For me, there was a senior leader who knew my interest in DEI work, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she would recommend me for related initiatives that came up during senior staff meetings. So I wasn't physically in those meetings, but my sponsor took me with her and advocated for me in ways that advanced my career goals. So I wasn't there, but I was there because she knew about my work and she advocated for me in all of those meetings. And you may have one person in each of these four roles, or there could be one person who functions as like a bit of all of them. As a mentor, I like to hit all four if possible. So now, do you know what you need at this point in your career, your academic journey? I hope it's a little bit clearer for you as we walk through those four different roles. Can we go to the next slide? Great. Now, hopefully, at least some of you need a mentor because that's what we're here for today. And if you have determined that you need a mentor, the next step then is finding one. Maybe you can participate in a formal mentorship program. I've done that before, and they match you with someone. That's great. But if not, you might be on your own to find a good match. I've been there too. So let's consider exactly how to find a good mentor. Let's go to the next slide. If you want a mentor to help you meet your goals, of course, the first step is you need to identify what your goals are. So, what are some of your goals? They can be short term, like things you want to accomplish in the next 3 to 6 months, or they could be long term, like things you want to do in the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe change your career, maybe go to grad school, go back to school for something, get a certification. Since mentors are role models and people doing things we're interested in, think about who you look up to. You know, who's doing the thing you really want to do? Maybe they have your dream job. Maybe they have a similar lived experience as you, or they've navigated difficult situations and you just want to learn from them. Maybe they took a unique career path that sounds perfect for you and you want to learn more. Lastly, look around. You may have several potential mentors very close to you if you just look. So reflect on these questions, and that'll help you start building your list of potential mentors. I just want to pause here, and I think maybe some of you had some difficulty with the chat, and I'm a big chat person. So As we go through this webinar, if you have questions or comments, just drop those in the chat, because even though I'm presenting, I can still see the chat box. And so I want to be able to answer questions and acknowledge comments as we go. Don't feel like you need to hold everything until the very last of this presentation. So I just want to acknowledge that. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So as you build your list, I would encourage you to be very open-minded. You know, when we think about who can be a mentor, I believe that really depends on what you need mentoring for. A mentor doesn't always have to be in your specific profession or your specific field. These are just a few options, but you know, can you think of others? And great for the chat, I think, working for most of you, because I'd like you to drop your thoughts in the chat. You know, have you had mentors from this list? Have you had mentors outside these categories? And so if you would share that in the chat box, I'm excited to hear what type of mentors you've had. And again, maybe you've had co-workers who've served as mentors for you. Maybe a former professor or faculty in a course that you were taking or a graduate program was a great mentor for you. Maybe it's your neighbor. Maybe it's, you know, a family member, an uncle or an aunt, a cousin who has been a good mentor for you. I see a comment here, can a manager be a mentor? And if you note on the slide, I put former. So I think it's really helpful to go to a former faculty member or professor, a former supervisor or manager, because it can get kind of sticky if that person is also overseeing your work. Or maybe they do your evaluations and things like that. So I like to piggyback on someone who was formerly in that role for me, because they know a lot about what I was working on. They know where my growth was during that period, but they also are not, you know, evaluating me in a sense right now. Right. So they are well informed of my strengths and weaknesses and can maybe best direct me for that next step. So thank you for that question. I see professor and faculty have served as mentors. A co-worker has served as a mentor. Lots of co-worker and colleagues who served as mentors, and a supervisor. A wonderful. Thank you all for adding those notes in the chat, and keep them coming. As you can tell, I like to engage in the chat throughout my presentations. And so we can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Thanks. Now here comes the hard part, which is asking someone to be your mentor. And nobody likes rejection, but let's get that part out of the way, which is you really need to prepare yourself for the very possible no. And next, getting your elevator pitch ready. This is the actual ask in the mentoring relationship. What are you asking for? What's your pitch? What do you want from this person and why? And I say elevator pitch because I don't know about you, but I don't want to hear someone's whole life story when they could have said what they needed to say in 2 minutes. Like, get to it already, right? So an elevator pitch. And then finally, the last part of the ask that I'd like you to consider is being open to non-committal, you know, informal meetings. Think of it like a meet and greet. If your potential mentor doesn't have the capacity to give you 1 hour, you know, monthly meetings for 6 months, but they can give you a solid 30 minutes of uninterrupted time next week, I suggest you take it. When I was looking for a new job, I wanted to know about, you know, DEI and health equity initiatives at other organizations. This was part of my coach helping me think through what types of jobs I would be interested in. So this was like my research into that next step. And my sponsor leveraged her relationship with senior directors to connect me with a few of them for like informal meetings. The director of the organization I was most interested in was not available until 2 months later. And she was only available for like 30 minutes. Do you think I declined? No way. I made the most of that time because she was willing to give it, and I needed to soak up as much of her advice as possible. So being open to those just informal, brief meetings, you can learn a lot from that, and that can still be part of mentoring. And so if we could go to the next slide, please. Let's go back to that whole rejection thing. First, I would encourage you, try not to personalize. This may be hard at first, but think about it. This person may be managing multiple commitments, including other mentees. So could this no be less of a no and more of a not right now? Very, very possible. So try your best not to personalize if you reach out to a potential mentor and they just can't do it right now. That's okay. That's why I encourage you to build a list of potential mentors. Here's some other thoughts that I encourage you to overcome. They'll think I have no idea what I'm doing. Well, I guess my point here is, isn't that why you're seeking a mentor in the first place? We all need someone to help us along the way. And trust me, if it's a really good mentor, they also had and needed a really good mentor along the way to help them with something they didn't know how to do, that they needed a mentor's guidance for. So that's okay if you don't know what you're doing, because that's why you need help. So let that one go. Another thought, I'm just going to be a burden. I think that really depends on your ask, which ties into the last thought here of I don't want to sound demanding. Um, and Luz, I appreciate your comment here, which is not only don't want to be a burden, but they'll know how lost and confused I might be. Are there some other thoughts that you all have encountered or that might be barriers to you reaching out to someone? Yes, Noel says had to do outreach in the ask step multiple times before getting a response, and usually reaching out 3 times until deciding to reach out to others. Which is, if you're a follow up person, maybe you throw out your initial ask and give it a few weeks, depending on this person's level of responsibilities. 2 to 3 weeks, and then a gentle nudge of, hey, just following up on my email here, and then if they don't respond, maybe that's your cue that they might be managing a lot. So it's time to move on to another potential mentor on your list. So thank you, Noel, for that. Needing to ask multiple times. Imposter syndrome. Robert, that's a whole other section that we could have on imposter syndrome, right? Not feeling like I'm worthy. This person is beyond my level. Why would they mentor me? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not ready for this. That's a whole other session that I would love to participate. Lauren, always used to remind myself that I'd rather hear an honest no, this isn't a fit, than hear a yes for a person who's actually overcommitted, right? Because that person, they can't really be a good mentor to you. And so I would rather, and I agree with you there, Lauren, I would rather you be honest with me. If you can't, you can't. And again, maybe it's not a no, but not right now. Hey, I'm managing a lot, but I have these things. Can you circle back to me in like 2 months, 2, 3 months? But don't forget about me. Come back and let's see if we can do something then. I would much rather, I agree with you, and have that than a person who says yes and is unavailable or can't really invest in me the way I need them to. So thanks for those chats in the comment section. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Thanks. So how do you avoid being a burden or demanding? I'm so glad you all asked. Here's some tips for you that I hope you will consider, which is be realistic and authentic. First of all, be yourself. Again, you're hoping to build a relationship with this person, and so you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself in an authentic way because you want them to be real with you also, right? And thinking about what's your pitch, what's your ask, and making sure it's clear. Again, get to it already, get to the point, and knowing where you are, where you're going, and how that person can help you get there is another key aspect of a good elevator pitch, and maybe preventing that no. Another good tip I would encourage you to have are options. Give options. Remember the director I said I met with and it took 2 months to get on her calendar? My thought was, if she was willing, then so was I, because what I needed her help with, it wasn't urgent or time sensitive. So it's okay if she wasn't available in the next 2 weeks. That's all right. I'm flexible. She was flexible. I'll be flexible. And then maybe some things you want to avoid being too direct. So this could be the surest way to get a no, coming right out of the gate with, will you mentor me? Will you be my mentor? It's kind of like a whoa, 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 right? Let's take a few steps back and build some rapport first. Again, you're looking for the right mentor, not just a mentor, any mentor to get me through, but I need the right mentor who can invest in me and it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And similarly, the mentor needs to know that you're the right mentee for them. And this goes with the second point here, having zero connection. Read stranger danger. If you have a potential mentor who doesn't know, who you don't know directly, do you know someone who does? Right. So maybe you built your list and you're like, man, this person, doing this thing over in this department, that's exactly what I want to do. I have no connection to them, but I see them around and I really would like to, learn from them. Then you look at who's in your circle that might know that person, and have them introduce you to. Have that connector explain how they know you, that you're currently interested in fill in the blank thing you're interested in, and that they thought this would be a good connection. And then you take it from there, right? So the last point here again goes back to building rapport. Even if you've already had an informal meeting with your potential mentor, that doesn't mean it's time to ask for a mentorship. She really only asks if you feel like, again, it's a good fit for both of you. And so taking an opportunity to get to know, do they have the time? Do they have the things that I think I need? Maybe I thought they had experience in this. And now that I've talked to them a few times, it's not really a good fit. Turns out they don't have everything that I feel I need to move me forward. What is the minimum time to know a good fit? Well, I think that's hard because, like in a relationship, sometimes it's, love at first sight. Man, I met this person one time and there's a good connection here, and I think they could really help me. Or, I've had some interactions with them, I'm not quite sure, or something isn't clicking for me. I think maybe I'll let it ride. I'll keep trying to get to know, or I'll just at a distance. Maybe they just serve as a role model. And I'll keep an eye out on the things that they're doing, but not a direct mentorship. So maybe I move down to someone else on my list, or maybe I reach out to some of the people who know me and know what I want to do and see if they have some recommendations of a mentor that may be a better fit for me. So I wouldn't say there's an ideal amount of time. It's really, what does it feel like? And only you know when it feels like, you know what, I really think this person could help me. I really think that we have good rapport. Again, focusing on that rapport, right? Because this is a relationship. So I think that they can help me. They get me. So I'm going to see if they are willing to be my mentor. And you take it from there. Again, that could be more of, one time and, oh man, the sparks are flying. This is a great opportunity. Or I'm not quite sure yet. So I maybe, connect with them one or two more times and see. And if it's not, then I won't take too much more of their time. And it's also consuming my time to explore a thing that doesn't feel right. Lauren says, I think it's also helpful to explore casual conversations with the mentors, other mentees, with the mentors and other mentees to get a sense of that mentor's style. Absolutely. So if you are looking at a person and man, everybody goes to this person for mentoring, then talk to some of the people who've been mentored by that person and say, hey, what was it like? What was your experience? What did you gain from it? And then maybe they can tell you, oh, I'm looking for those same things. Maybe I'll reach out to them and see if they have time. Or, that sounds great and that's a good fit for you, but maybe I'm looking for something else. So thank you for that one. Next slide, please. Now the fun part, which is, I think, really putting it all together. And so here's some starters for your mentor pitch. And these are just suggestions. Again, you should be sure the tone and language sound like you. I believe you'll have access to these slides, but for now, maybe taking a screenshot of this slide could be very helpful to you. And I'll just read through some of the starters, which is an intro, and this might be for someone that you don't know. right? So making that connection of who you are, my name is, and I work in or I work with, fill in the blank person you work with. And that connection, which is getting into what is it that you're looking for in that potential mentor. I admire how you do this. I really enjoyed your lecture. I really enjoyed your article about your research on blah, blah, blah. I appreciate the way you do this thing, which transitions into I'd like to learn more about something that was in the article. I'd like to learn more about how you did that thing. I'd really appreciate your guidance on this thing, right? Fill in the blank, whatever you need. The commit part. So this is for someone you know. So you've built rapport and now it's your part of the relationship. And I'm willing to help with, and maybe there's a project they're working on that would be beneficial to whatever it is you're trying to learn. So I'm willing to help with this fill in the blank project. I can be sure to make an agenda for our meetings. I'll be sure to complete the action items and report back. Again, this commit piece is when you're ready to move forward with the mentoring relationship. If you're not, you can still do your intro, your connection, your ask, and then skip down to the date, which is getting into that kind of informal, non-committal meeting. Like again, think meet and greet, So we're saying, I admire how you, or I appreciate the way you do this, and this, and I would appreciate your guidance on blah, blah, blah. Would you be willing to meet for 30 minutes to discuss dot, 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 whatever it is? Are you available for 30 minutes in the next 2 weeks? And again, remember we talked about flexibility and options, so I understand your schedule may be busy and I'm open to, if you started off, well, hey, can we meet for an hour? I'm open to meeting for 30 minutes if that works better for your schedule. Or if you say you do 2 weeks, are you available for 30 minutes the next 2 weeks? Well, I'm open to looking at later dates if that would be better for your schedule. So does this sound doable, from your own experience or what you are hoping to do moving forward? Are those helpful for developing your elevator pitch? I certainly hope so. But I wanted to break it down and maybe give you again some of these starters, right? How to begin the sentence. And you formulate it in a way that fits for you, but that's what I'm hoping you gain from this slide. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Because guess what? We're going to have an in-class assignment. Yay, I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you signed up. So I want to give you a minute or two to work on these parts of the ask, which is I'd like you to just think of one potential mentor. You don't have to name the mentor, but just think of one potential. And then just work through these points. What's your connection? Why do you think they can help you? Next, what's your ask? And then lastly, what are you bringing to the table? Again, we didn't really get into this today, but once you've built that rapport and are ready to begin the mentorship, you do want to show your commitment to it, right? How you make the most of your time together. So I want us to pause here for a few minutes, and I want to allow everybody some time to really think about these points. And you can post what you come up with in the chat. Again, the chat's been active, which I appreciate. And there's no need to list your mentor's name. You can hold on to that. But even if you just come up with one good sentence, share it with us. This is a starting point, and we're all here to learn. So I'm going to pause and just let you think about it for some time and then give us what you got. So I'm going to say maybe 2 minutes at around the half hour. We'll see what's coming up in the chat. Again, even if you have one good sentence, that's fine. Oh, 131. That's your solid 2 minutes. I want to be sure to be fair here. So 131. So you got 2 minutes. Just think about it. And then as you come up with something, drop it in the chat for us. Maybe you need another minute or two, that's fine. Got a little smooth jazz here in the background. Maybe that helps you think through. Are you ready? Anybody ready to share with us what we have? Again, even just a sentence will do, but I'm hoping you were able to put some of this into practice. So, a couple of thoughts in the chat, I'll hold. Ooh, thanks, Robert. All right, Robert came up with, I really respect the approach you have to students. It's a comprehensive approach to guiding them through the journey toward careers in medicine and allied medical professions. I'm committed to a holistic approach to students. I would really appreciate your guidance on how best to improve my approach. Excellent. That's a great way to start, right? I appreciate the way, and then getting to, what you need from that person. Thank you for being willing to share, Robert. Anyone else who got a sentence or two started on what their ask might be? All right, just in case you're still working on it, I'll move forward. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. If you're still working, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I'll come back to it, no worries. Alrighty, so after you identify and ask someone to be your mentor, you want to be sure you're doing the right things to actually keep your mentor. And part of that is holding yourself accountable to the things you committed to in the ask. We talked about that. Also, making the mentorship time bound. Maybe you start with 3 months or 6 months. I've been in formal mentorship programs that lasted for a year. The point is that there should be a clear end date for the mentoring relationship. Lastly, you also want to be sure to respect each other's time by having an agenda and sticking to it. Try to limit repeated rescheduling or being late, going overtime, which usually sets them behind for the rest of the day. That first meeting runs long, and everybody else runs long. And then this is the final point, actually, setting boundaries on what's discussed. And so remember, your mentor did not sign up to be your therapist. So this is not the place where you want to vent all of your issues. Instead, consider that mentor relationship is an opportunity and a place for growth and development as you reach your next steps. We can go to the next slide, but I want to stop and look at some of the comments in the chat as we move. Okay, I see here, Shaw said, I can give a reasonable firm commitment for my devotion to complete the project, right? That's that part of, here's what I can bring to the table. Here's what I'm willing to do. Noel, here's a good one here. Really thought out. I'm glad you had some time to work on that, Noel, which is, I enjoyed your recent talk on using human tissues to identify novel biomarkers. And I found it interesting that you use publicly accessible NRMN data to inform your studies. I'd like to learn more about your research strategy and study pipelines. I'd like to set up a 30-minute meeting with you. My availability is XYZ. If none of these times are convenient for you, thank you, flexibility and giving options, I can send more times. Please let me know if you have the capacity to meet. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, Noel. I see all the points there, right? Here's the connection. This talk that you gave. And here's what I found interesting, right? This, I admire how you did a thing. I found interesting that you use this publicly accessible data. And here's what I'm asking, right? I'd like to learn more about your research strategies. And then here's my offer for, can we set up a meet and greet? And here's my offering some options to you as well. If that doesn't work for you, I can look at other dates and times. So thank you, Noel. I hope that was really beneficial to you. And Robert, loving that a mentor is not equal to a therapist. Yes, I can share from my own experience as a mentor that one of my mentees was just really unsatisfied with his job and his position, and feeling like lack of opportunities and lack of support from surrounding leaderships. Um, and so that's what we talked about for the first one or two times that we met. It was all just like a gripe and venting session, which was really difficult. But as a mentor, really spending a lot of my energy redirecting, right? So, what can we do about that? What would you like to do about that? What is keeping you there? What is driving you to leave? Right. So I did feel a bit, of counselor and therapist in those moments. But once I managed to set some boundaries in that relationship, I have to set them as a mentor. It's really great if you do it as a mentee as well. But to say, I understand that you're in a difficult situation. Let's focus our time on what you want to do about that. So as a mentee in that, a mentee and a mentor in developing that relationship, being sure that you come with that optimism of, I'm here to grow, right? I'm not here to just go to my mentor and say, oh my God, it sucks here. Or I haven't been able to get into grad school every time I apply. I don't get in and I'm tired of applying. That's fine for like 2 minutes. But now let's focus on how we're going to go. But now let's focus on what we're going to do as our next step. And so let's, again, you all are here. So hopefully you're familiar with NRMN resources, but they have plenty more webinars and recorded sessions like the ones that you are hearing today with me. And so I encourage you to explore those resources, whether you are a mentee or a mentor. Then I think those are some opportunities for you. Oh, Luz, hey there. All right, all right. So Luz, Luz's ass says, "Hello, I admire how you've grown and powered through challenges. I'm currently experiencing challenges of my own, and would love to learn more about how you were able to overcome those challenges. If scheduling permits, I'd like to schedule a Zoom call for a quick chat." Thank you for that, Luz. Again, hitting all the major points there, right? I admire how, this is what I see in you, and here's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to navigate my own challenge, my own situation. I'd appreciate your advice on how to do so. And so, can we schedule? And I like that, a quick chat, because a quick chat to me feels like 30 minutes, no more than 45, but definitely not an hour. It feels like a quick chat. And so I'm more inclined to say, oh, I can do a quick chat to talk about these things. And maybe that quick chat turns into another quick chat. And then you decide, oh, hey, this person I think would be a great fit to be my mentor. Oh, we can go ahead and go to the next slide, which is to say, well, are you ready? Several of you have already posted your elevator pitch in the chat, so I feel like you might be ready to move forward. But as we started, kind of a where are you in your journey, I'd like to ask you now, what's your number? Where are you in readiness? Which is, I'm not even close. Don't even bring the subject to me. I'm not ready to pursue a mentorship relationship with anyone. But maybe you're number two, which is to say, I get it. I do need a mentor, but not right now, maybe later. Maybe you're number three, which is say, yes, I'm ready for a mentor, but I think I need more time. I need more help with some things. Or perhaps you're at a number four, which I feel like most of you might be at a number four, but I'm just, excited for your participation today. But maybe you're at a number four, which is say, yes, I'm ready for a mentor. And I do feel like I have the tools that I need to start to start the search, to ask when I'm ready. I feel like I might be able to actually keep the mentor once I find them. Robert is like a 3.5. I'll take that, Robert. All right, we got a three. We got a three. For those of you who are hovering at a three, what do you feel, or maybe is it more time that you need, or is it more help? Okay, Noel, thank you for answering my question. Time to expand my list. Absolutely. So going back to those questions of, what are your goals? What is it that you would need in a mentor? Helping to really expand that out might be what you need to do. Anything else? Resources that you need if you're at a three. Time to narrow my goals, which is great, right? Being able to say, I want to do some of this, I want to do some of this, some of this, but you know what? Right now, I want to focus on this one thing. Yeah. Share of the grant, that would be ideal, right? If you know, I want to focus on pursuing this type of grant, or I want to pursue this grad school program, then that will help me narrow down which mentor would be the best for me. Needing to determine what I'm looking for and refine my CV. Regarding possible jobs. All right, I see you there, William, at the start of a job search. So that's great. That's a maybe later. Let me get some of these things done. Which once you get that, in terms of refine my CV and have a better understanding of what job you might be looking for, then you can work on, okay, well, my goal is to find a job in this area. So I'm looking for mentors who could help me, or mentors who navigated their own switching careers or so forth, and I can learn from their experience. So completely get that. Time management is always a big challenge. Oh my God, if we just had, 25 hours and just one more hour, I think we could do so much, right? But I've always felt that in order to manage time, you have to have some of it. Absolutely. And one of the things that I encourage with my mentees is how you prioritize your time. And when it comes to whatever your goals are, you know, biting off a little bit at a time, which is to say, can I give myself, you know, 30 minutes, 3 days a week to work on my CV if I'm willing? Can I do that? Can I at least invest in my next step for an hour this week, an hour and a half? And it doesn't have to all be in one block. It's great if I have an hour or an hour and a half of uninterrupted, undivided time where I'm not getting multiple Skype message DMs from team members. I can just focus on this. Maybe it's after work that I can do that. But if it's important to you, then finding again, and it doesn't have to be a full block, but if I can do 20 minutes here, which is to just look at my CV, right? And I can look and I can say, okay, this area I need to focus on. I need to fix that area first. I'll do that for 20 minutes. And then maybe on Saturday, I have a little bit of time in the morning. Hey, I wake up maybe an hour early and I look at it for another 20 minutes to just update my publications on it. And if I just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, then it will get done and it's actually feasible. Maybe it doesn't feel as overwhelming. And I try to encourage my mentees in that same way, just a little bit at a time, maybe, if that's what's doable for you. Not everyone has big chunks, but you work with what you need time for prioritizing a mentorship. It's so true. Yes, absolutely, Jeannie. Thanks for joining me on that and joining all the comments and co-signing. Yes, we need to prioritize. We need to really see an opportunity for mentorship. I hope even as you look at wanting a mentor, that you also see opportunity for the other roles in your journey, which is having a role model. Maybe your mentor is your role model, having a coach for specific things. Hey, William, maybe you can have a coach that helps you with improving your CV, right? That's a specific task, a specific skill. Help me revamp this CV. Or maybe there's a sponsor, which is, that person who, while you're developing your CV, they know what you're looking for and they're advocating for you. So you're on the final steps of finishing off your CV, but they're already looking and keeping an eye out for opportunities that you might want to consider once you finish that CV. Or they're looking for opportunities for you to get your research out there so they know what conferences are coming. Maybe they're on the planning committee and they can keep an ear out for, ooh, we have this session. Make sure you put in an abstract. I think you would be great for it. And I see our NRMN team saying even a peer mentor, which, if we looked at that list of potential mentors, they weren't all people who were above us in station, but also thinking of someone who's right alongside me, a lateral mentor, a coworker, a colleague who is, they're in the same position, but they have maybe taken on more responsibility and I'm trying to expand my portfolio too. They can help me. Or when it comes to reviewing your CV, they know what you do, so they might be able to help you explain it better. I use this often for my CV as an officer because for our promotion packet and I create my CV, but I don't know who all is going to be there. They don't all work at NIH. They might not all be nurses in a research field. So I look to my peers, other officers to review my CV because I want to make sure it makes sense to people who are not nurses in research. So I use that to say, hey, help me work through this, help me prepare for my promotion, but I want to get a different perspective from a different field in preparing for a competitive promotion packet. And thank you, Robert, who says that at Hunter College, peer mentors have proven it to be very helpful. So congrats to you all at Hunter College for maybe having a really strong mentorship program. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, which might be my last slide. Yes. All right. My email is there. I appreciate any emails if you have questions, if you want to follow up on anything that was discussed here, if you want to talk more about my own experiences, I'm happy to meet with you offline. Listen, if I'm advocating for you to go out and, ask people for informal, non-committal meetings, surely I can make myself available to have some non-committal informal meetings with you and meet and greet and talk about what your goals might be. Again, share my own experiences and maybe support you along the way if you determine it's a good fit. But I would really encourage you, if you would like to connect, I'm happy to do so. My inbox is open for you, but I want to share that. And also, again, as the NRMN team is posting there, that you can join the National Research Mentor Network and find a mentor, or if you are a mentor, find a mentee and have that connection virtually on their platform. I'd like to pause here, and if there are any other questions that you want to post in the chat, feel free to do so, and I'll turn it over to you, Alexis.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murray, for an incredible and so useful tips to engage with mentorship. Incredible. So, yes, folks, we are the National Research Mentoring Network, and we are celebrating mentorship all month long. So I highly encourage you to create a profile on our NRMnet profile. This will give you access to engage with virtual mentors and mentees, and we actually provide you with evidence-based curriculum to make sure that you guys are having an enriched and impactful mentorship. We have over 28,000 members nationwide, so it's a nice, robust community for you to be able to peruse profiles, see if that would be a good fit for you, and leverage some of these resources that are completely free to use. So thank you very, very much for everybody in attendance today. And Dr. Murray, would you be comfortable sharing these slides to our attendees?
Yes, I think that would be fine. I do have a preference that they're shared in PDF format because it keeps everything formatted correctly. Like I noticed on one of the slides, I think it shifted a little bit. So my T like swung to the bottom. So if you could just fix that, it might have just been with the formatting and transferring the file type. But sure, if you fix that, save it as a PDF and send it out, I'm completely happy with that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Murray, for taking the
Mhm.
time. And thank you, everybody, for taking your time in attendance today. And we will also be posting this useful information on our NRMnet YouTube channel. So stay signed on for more upcoming events like this. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thanks.